Stay tuned, big changes are coming. I'm going to start here with my green stalk. This is a basil green stalk, and I'd only have the top layers planted. This is holy basil, and then Genevieve regular basil, and they're variegated. This is on my front porch. And over here we have a tangled strawberry mass, which I let grow. I'm trying to get these bigger plants. I'm trying to let the runners go so I can plant more of the big kind. There's some of these that are much smaller. They're a different type of strawberry. And as you can see, there's very, very tiny fruit on here because there's so many in this bucket. I've been growing this bucket for about 10 years. It's time to replace it. And this is a blueberry. There's lots of snacks. The birds haven't got too many of them. And in this little container, I have some zinnias I planted, and my solar lights that eventually I'll put up. But I have my trellis. It's my Mother's Day present. The garden has been under construction for quite some time. We changed the entire design. I have some sunflowers here. They're getting ready to flower. And then I have a flowering sage bush that I've had for about 10 or 12 years. And then another mammoth. This is called a mammoth sunflower. It's getting ready to flower as well. I have some rosemary plant. This is our bordering. What we did is we decided to do an herb garden as a border for our entire garden because these will continue to come back every year. I have thyme over here that will come back every year. These were 4th of July spinners we put in here for decoration. These are chives. And a lavender that's pretty much spent. It's time to come trim that off. We have sweet marjoram. Sweet marjoram over here. These are finally starting to take. We planted these about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago. And we have more thyme. This guy's a little sad right now, but this is part of the other thyme plant. I split it up into several different plants. And I have lemon thyme, which I already harvested several times. And then I have tarragon, French tarragon, and also another lemon thyme plant. This guy's doing a little better. More chives. I have chives throughout the garden. More tarragon. This guy's a different type, different brand, and he's only a first year. And I have oregano, which I plant in buckets because it will take over the entire garden. Another rosemary. I have some dill that was growing in my compost that I replanted. And then I have more dill down here that I planted so I can get the fresh dill weed. I plant them very heavy, and then I'll basically get a ton of dill fronds. Another lavender. And some more thyme. This is a regular English thyme. Another English thyme. And some more oregano. Eventually these will fill out pretty well. I have some zinnias that I transplanted from, they grew outside of the garden box, and so I transplanted some, and then I planted some more seed. I have winter savory, and then some more chives, And this is a different type of oregano. It's a golden oregano. And then I have Roman chamomile, and I've been harvesting pretty continuously from my chamomile flowers. And this will be calendula, and it should reseed itself. I will chop and drop the seeds next year and make sure that they continue to grow. And another chive, and then some empty space. I think I'm going to put some strawberries in here. And then I have some more lavender. This was one of the first beds we got completed on our new garden build. And then some more chives. And this is another type of sage. It's a very different kind of leaves. And it smells about the same, but it has a much hardier, much thicker leaf. And then some more sweet marjoram. And then some more English thyme and winter savory. And another rosemary plant. And another sweet marjoram. And then this is another type of sage. It's called golden sage. And then another chives. We completed this bed last week or 2 weeks ago. I have not put anything in it yet. I'm still debating on what to put in there. I want some more annuals to come in, but I'm thinking strawberries. And eventually we'll get the final beds filled. I have a large pile of dirt that I will have to complete eventually. Oh, hi, Mr. Dragonfly. I don't want to disturb him. But what we've done is we've built a border around the entire garden of all of the herbs. And so up here I have some blueberries, different types, different ages. And I have 2 apple trees. This guy's pretty heavy with apples. I've already picked some so I could hopefully save the branches. They're pretty heavy, but they've only been going for a couple of years. There's some more blueberries. And I have this apple tree, the Gravenstein, and he's pretty heavy too. Hopefully it survives. And then I have some more blueberries. These are Jersey. And then I have another blueberry pot. And then on the other side of the blueberries, I have green stalks. These are all full of strawberries. About a month ago, and they're just starting to put on flowers. This was an afterthought. And I have mint and some more strawberries. And I'm saving all of these runners. There's a little ripe strawberry. I'm trying to save all the runners from these plants so I can continue to get more strawberries. There's lots of extra flowers that are coming on again. This is the second flush. I usually get 2 flushes. And I have more mint, more strawberries, some more strawberry blossoms. We put all the green stalks in a row up high so the sun can get them all. More mint. And this one I have a few green beans up top. I wanted to see how well they do. And then I have catnip up here. I can't put it in the garden because the cats seem to eat it. They came and ate it the first time I put it in the garden, so I had to put it up high. But I have some green beans. We're going to see how they go. Again, more strawberry flowers. And here we have lemon balm. All of my mint and lemon balm is all first year. We just put those in this year, so they haven't got a chance to grow much. There's some green beans. The top of this one I have some kale. I have green beans. And I have potatoes. The bottom are 2 rows of potatoes. And they actually do pretty well in the green stalks. And over here we have potatoes. This is my second planting of potatoes this year. And then we have, this one is cayenne peppers. And there's several peppers down in here. I believe they have to be red before I can pick them. And then we have jalapenos. And this is another jalapeno, but it's a different type. And they're actually very large. They're much bigger, much further along. Much bigger type, I believe. There's several of them down there. And in this bed, I also have carrots. I planted some carrots kind of here and there throughout. I don't like to waste any space. And again, we have some more holy basil or tulsi. Some more there as well. And some regular basil and more carrots. And then these are just bell peppers on the other side. And that is a worm tube. We do composting in the garden. So I will put food scraps in the worm tube. And there's holes. Can't see them, but there's holes down below where the worms can come in. And then on this trellis, we have green beans. Lots of green beans. I've been harvesting pretty regularly for the last couple of weeks. Lots of babies. And we step down in. Some more green beans. They go all the way up over my head. We step down in this bed. These are irrigated. I can plug in the water to this one and they can soak deep. And I do the straw to keep the moisture in, and it seems to work really well. These are all bush beans, ladybugs. But these are all bush beans. I want to use every bit of space I possibly can. And these are carrots. I know they need to be thinned, but I just struggle with thinning them. I'd rather pick them out when they're little babies and eat them, and then let the big ones get bigger. And then we have beets over here. They're starting to bulb up slowly. I finally got beets to grow. I had to cover them with a netting to keep the birds from eating the sprouts. And here we have Juliet tomatoes. These are really good cherry style tomatoes, and they're getting very big and unruly. It's time to trim them again. Here's a couple of heirloom tomatoes. Excuse me. They're getting plump, and they're also very, very tall. And we also have some more pole beans that we planted down deep. They're going up. In between the garden beds, I have cardboard laid down so I can keep the weed pressure down until we plant the grass. We're going to be planting grass eventually. So that's why you hear the cardboard, me walking on the cardboard. And over in this bed, we have, look at all the dragonflies. There's so many. Beautiful, beautiful dragonflies. Just gorgeous. Look, there's 3 of them. Stunning and beautiful colors. I have a strawberry in the corner of this bed. I let this guy go. I don't know how it ended up there, but I let it go, and there's several runners that are starting to plant themselves. Oh, there's a strawberry. Let's take off leaves. I'm letting it go so I can get the runners off of them. It's a very big strawberry plant that puts off some really huge berries, beautiful sweet berries. And then behind all this, I have green beans going all the way to the top. And then I planted these tomatoes. I planted them a few videos ago. They were in my compost. And I went ahead and planted them, and they're doing beautiful. They're all blossoming. This guy's a little small, but there's flowers on there. You can see all of them have flowers. And then over here, I have some buckets of oregano. I have to find a place to plant them. I'm going to probably let these ones go to flower and trim them all back, plant them next year. And then in this bed, it's a 2-tier bed, so it's very deep. I have my sweet potatoes, and I grow my sweet potatoes in this every year. I just redo the soil and put more nutrients in. But they're starting to take off. They're starting to vine. We've had some very, very warm weather lately, and so they're finally starting to go. And this is a prime example why I like to use the straw. I haven't watered in a few days, and it's very damp, very moist, and it's been in the upper 80s for the last few days. And then over here we have some potatoes. This soil is also very moist, and I haven't watered in several days. And over here we have tomatillos. So many fruits. They're just going crazy. I have one tomatillo that is just flowers, and I believe it's helping to pollinate this one. So I have fruit on one tree and no fruit on the other. And here's some tomatoes. Got some, these are Better Boy tomatoes. And I've done the Florida weave on these. I keep these trimmed fairly well. I need to put another rung on there. I need to add another string. The next one over here is a sun sweet or sun gold. Some people call them sun gold, some people call them sun sweet. This one, I believe it's a sun gold, and it's getting pretty high. This is a Riesentraub that grew. I didn't plant it, it just grew there, and so I'm just going to let it go. I'll probably tie it up to the post pretty soon. And then again, here's some bush beans. These are yellow wax bush beans. I just planted these not too long ago. And here's that second tomatillo plant, which I have. It looks like one little tiny fruit finally right over here, but there's like no fruit. Lots of flowers, lots and lots of flowers, but no fruit. And then in here I have my compost. I keep composted coffee and filters. I use the brown filter so they can all compost. I've got banana peels, eggshells, dill, all the cuttings from the dill, and then another chive, which apparently I'm growing a dandelion as well. Get that guy out of there. And there's the tomatillo plant. It is huge, and it is just full of tomatillos. You can see the difference in the size. This one is way taller, way bigger. And I planted them at the same time. And again, I had some more yellow beans that I planted. And then right here is cilantro, little baby cilantro. I always plant them very thick, and so I can harvest it as it comes up. And then around the other side, I have 2 garden beds. These were 2 of my original garden beds. If you look at the previous video, it does show better how empty they were. And when I planted these tomatoes, I planted most of them on camera with you guys. And now they're just going crazy. But I have lots of dill. I've been cutting it off as they begin to plump. I usually cut them right about here when they start plumping. After the flowers are gone and the seeds start plumping, I cut them and I throw them in a Ziploc and put them in the freezer. And when it's time to make pickles, I will go ahead and just grab a bunch and put them in my jars straight from the freezer. And here is some more dill fronds. Like I said, I plant them very thick, so there's several plants down here. And I will just take and hack off a whole bunch and let it go again and keep hacking it off. And here are cucumbers. I planted these in the video as well, and they're going crazy. They're loving it over here. So maybe I'll actually get cucumbers this year. These are called Tasty Jade. They're supposed to be a heat-resistant type. And here are the tomatoes. We planted these together, and I put these cages on them, so hopefully they'll be able to stand up, but they've already got flowers on them. We planted these, some of were from my compost bin, so I have no idea what kind they are. But I went ahead and planted them anyway. And in the background is more green beans, pole beans, going up the trellis to meet the other green beans. And out here, I have a plum tree that my sister grew for me from seed. I have an elderberry that we need to plant in a permanent location eventually. And I have a grape, a white grape, and some more mint in buckets. And then I have another compost tomato that decided to grow by itself. And down below, you'll see there's a potato, and then another potato, and then a giant dill, which you can see I've already cut one off. I have to let these continue to plump up, and then I'll cut those off as well. I don't use the fronds from the full-grown plants because they don't have as much flavor. They lose a lot of their flavor. Here is a zinnia that grew in my compost bin, and I let it grow. Looks like I'm going to have a flower. I don't know what color it's going to be. Stay tuned and we'll find out together. Here's a potato that doesn't look like it's doing too well, but I'll let it go and see. Another potato, another potato, another potato, and another potato. And I have a little strawberry that decided to grow. Not sure what it's going to do, but we'll find out. And another potato. And it appears I have another tomato growing. Not sure what that's going to do, but I'll let it go and see what happens. I do need to come in here and weed. It feels weird to weed my compost bin, but I will weed it. Looks like more dill is coming up over here. The dill over here was from my compost. I chopped and dropped all of my dill plants last year, so I have random dill all over the place. And this is, I think it's an Abe Lincoln. I'm really hoping that it's an Abe Lincoln, because that's where we had them last year, but there's lots of flowers. They were just tiny a few weeks ago when I planted them with you guys, and they're already taking off. Looks like another baby tomato over there too. And here's another ox heart. I hope it's an ox heart. The ox hearts are really pretty to look at. And another potato. I really enjoy the ox heart. The looks of them they're so cool. They have ridges almost like a pumpkin. And over here I just harvested my chives the other day to make some salmon patties. And I have winter savory that's been growing for quite some time. All of the winter savory that you saw in the original herb garden when I started the video is all from this one plant. I split it off into bits and made several plants out of it. And then this is one of my original chives I did the same thing with. I usually dehydrate those. I have more strawberries. These are the ones I believe I'm going to plant in the main garden box. One of the new garden boxes that I put in. And I have another plum tree that my sister grew from seed. Another grape. I might end up giving those away. and another plum tree that's looking a little sad. And then here I have another plum tree, and it appears that the canes I stuck in here are starting to grow. I took a branch and just stuck them in the soil, and it looks like one of them is starting to grow. So I may have another plum tree. But that is a tour of the garden so far. This is where we're at, and I'm going to continue to do updates as I can every couple of weeks to see the progress. We still have a lot of cleaning up to do and a lot of finishing to do. But that is the garden.